Good afternoon. Good afternoon. We're gonna get started now. Let me turn back to our first turn. So, good Sunday afternoon. We're gonna be playing, kind of per the schedule. Every Sunday, I try to play some casual games for those of you listening, and we use beginner decks. There's 10 of them, 2 of each of the 5 colors of Magic. And what I try to do is I try to go definitely in depth on each of the deck's strategies and how to play and making decisions and choosing which political enemy you want to have in any given uh, in any given fight that you come up to. So today we are going to play out 3 of these decks. We're going to play both the black decks and the red deck. So we've been through, if you've been following each week, we've actually been through all 10 of the decks that I have. So we have in black today we'll have zombies and demons, and then with red we're playing dragons, so the other red deck is goblins. And then in blue we have thopters and sphinxes, and in green we have hydras and elves, and then in white we have soldiers and angels. So each of the each of the decks are kind of built around a tribe, and trying to kind of like focus and hone in on each of those tribes kind of synergies. A synergy would be like, it just means that cards that go really well together. So we're trying to figure out what those synergies are, and then not exploit them, but just kind of cause like really focus on them so that the deck operates in a good way, and in a like kind of a straightforward way, especially because these are beginner decks. So they're meant to be pretty straightforward. In most cases, when it comes to straightforward decks, we're looking at aggro, which just means you're trying to attack your opponent and bring their life total down to 0 in order to win. So to get started, we're going to start. I picked these decks today because I've been playing Dark Souls lately, Dark Souls 3, and so demons and dragons and zombies felt like a pretty good group to represent Dark Souls. So we're gonna get started on. Man, I'm really muted. Let me mess with the lights just a touch and see if we can get a little better lighting. Yeah, that looks a little bit better. I was afraid there wasn't enough light in the room, but it looks like the afternoon sun is giving us enough light today. So that may change as we continue on. Okay, so we're starting with the demon deck, and the demon deck uses a commander called Vilis, Broker of Blood. It's a really, really high cost demon, but it has a really, really strong ability. It's an 8 cost, so 5 colorless, 3 black to cast, and it is an 8/8 flying creature, and then it has an ability that whenever you lose life, you draw that many cards. And so what we're going to try to do is we're going to try to get Vilis out as quickly as we possibly can, because a lot of the stuff that we have in the deck loses us life, so then we draw more cards. And the reason that that's important, the reason why that works, why that is really good, is because we're playing what's a little bit of a control deck, but generally the principle is when it comes to Magic is that the more cards you draw, the more options you have. And the more options you have, the more likely you are to win, because when you need an answer to something, you'll have an answer. Instead of if you draw just one card a turn, let's say you really needed a spell that killed another creature and instead you drew a creature. Well, you know, if you had just drawn more cards, then maybe you would have gotten the spell that you needed to get you out of a sticky situation. So we're going to try to draw as many cards as we can and basically be able to answer or have answers to whatever anybody else plays. And the other part that helps us with that is that Vilas also has a third ability, pay a black and 2 life to give target creature -1/-1 until end of turn. So Vilas himself will allow us to pay a black to essentially draw 2 cards and then try to kill something on somebody else's side of the table. So that's going to be really, really, really handy for us. Plus, there's just going to be a bunch of other cards that we can use to, like I said, pay life and do stuff. So our starting hand here is a little land heavy, a little heavier on land than I normally want or would like to see, but because we're looking to get to 8 mana as quickly as possible, that's just how it's going to be. So right now, we don't have enough land to be able to get there, but we do have this Cabal Ritual that may help us get there if we can. So Cabal Ritual has pay 2 colorless to get 3 black mana, and then if we have 7 or more cards in our graveyard, instead we get 5 black mana. So we're really going to try to get cards into our graveyard as soon as we can, because that means that we need much fewer land to be able to get Vilas out. In fact, these 5 land are enough to actually get us there with Cabal Ritual, if Cabal Ritual is powered up. So what we're hoping here with this hand is that we're going to draw into the cards that we need, since we drew so many land to begin with. Hopefully the next few cards will be cards that we can actually play. Until we get there, we're also going to have this Brood of Cockroaches, which isn't a demon, but we kind of need a little bit of help with this demon deck to get it going. And in this case, Brood of Cockroaches is a 1/1/2 cost creature that whenever it dies, we actually, at the end of turn, pay a life and bring it back to our hand. So we have more or less kind of an infinite blocker here if we need it. It can't do much else other than that right now, but we're just going to see how it goes. So let's take our first turn. So at the beginning of the turn, draw a card for the turn. That is not really what we want to see. Like I said, we kind of already have enough land as it is. So we'll go and play that land and then pass the turn because there's not much else we can do. Okay. Let's keep going around here and look at our second deck, which is the Dragon Tribal deck. I particularly like dragons, and I think one of the other days of the week I will do a day where we only play dragon decks, which is going to be pretty exciting. So this deck, this dragon deck is helmed by Lathless, Dragon Queen. She is a 6 costs, 4 colorless, 2 red, 6/6 flying creature. And whenever it has another ability, whenever another non-token dragon enters the battlefield under our control, create a 5/5 red dragon creature token with flying. And then it has a third ability, pay a colorless and a red, and you can do that as many times as you want to. For dragons you control to get +1/+0 until end of turn. So what we're going to aim for with Lathless is we want to get Lathless out as soon as we can. And then once we have Lathless out, we're going to try to play as many dragons as we possibly can. And the reason for that is just that each dragon gets us a second dragon when we have Lathless out. So that's going to be our goal. And thankfully here, we're actually doing really well with this hand. So we have 4 land to start out with, and then we have a ramp spell that gives us 2 additional colorless mana. So we actually have enough here that on our turn 4, we will be able to play Lathless. So the other things that we have in our hand, we have 2 different dragons. They're both really low cost, which is good. This Opportunistic Dragon, we're going to have to see if we can take advantage of its ability, because its ability has it so that it can steal an opposing player's human or artifact. So we're really going to be looking for the artifacts, because there is the possibility for some humans out of the zombie deck, but for the most part, we're just going to be, the demon deck just may have artifacts, and that's what we'll have to steal. The other one, however, is an exceptionally good dragon because it is a 4-cost 4/4 that is flying, so it can fly over opposing creatures to attack. And then it also has haste, so it can actually attack the turn that it comes into play. Now, in addition to its really solid stats for the amount of mana that you're playing, at the beginning of your any end step or at the end of the turn that Archwing Dragon is out, then it returns back to your hand, which is really cool because, like I said, we're going to be trying to play a dragon and then get another dragon for it, but Archwing Dragon will return to our hand so we can keep replaying it if we don't have other dragons out. So that's going to be something to really look forward to and take advantage of with Lathless. So let's go ahead and see what her opening hand is at the beginning of the turn. You draw a card. Ooh, that's pretty cool. So Dragon Whisperer. It is a 2-cost 2/2, and then it has a couple of different abilities to give itself flying and to give itself a stronger power. But in addition to that, it has pay 6, 4 colorless, 2 red, put a 4/4 red dragon creature token with flying onto the battlefield. Activate this ability only if creatures you control have total power 8 or greater. So the cool thing here is that once we get Lathless out, we can actually activate Dragon Whisperer. If we don't have any other dragons out, we can't play anything. These two together will allow us to pay 6 mana and start getting out 4/4 dragons. So that's actually a really cool card to be able to have with us now. So on my second main phase after drawing, I will go ahead and play a mountain and then pass the turn to our third deck, which is Ghoul-Caller Gissa, a human wizard that creates zombies. Well, look at that, a zombie deck that creates zombies. Who would have thunk? So Ghoul-Caller Gissa is a 5-cost 3/4, and it has pay 1 black, tap it, sacrifice another creature. Put X 2/2 black zombie creature tokens onto the battlefield, where X is the sacrificed creature's power. So the cool thing about Ghoul-Caller Gissa is that when you sacrifice a creature, even if it's 1 power, you get a 2/2 zombie. And then if the next turn you sacrifice a 2/2 zombie, you get 2 2/2 zombies. And so you can keep doing that. She kind of generates more zombies the higher power that you have. And you can start really low from scratch. So the goal of the cool thing about the zombie deck is that most of the cards kind of they're meant to mostly just attack, but it's really straightforward. They all have abilities that do something like zombies get Swamp Walk, or zombies get +1/+1, or zombies get Death Touch, or something like that, where it's very easy to understand what the purpose of each of the zombies is. So what we're going to look for is basically this is Ghoul-Caller Gissa is kind of our backup plan. If we don't know what else to do with our turns, we can just create more zombies. But in general, we're just going to try to play zombies each turn and see what happens. So to help us out with that, I chose this opening hand. So we have 4 lands to start out with, which is really good. We also have we're starting off with a zombie, or we have a zombie to play pretty early, which is a 3-cost 2/2, and it has sacrifice a creature. Ferexian Ghoul gets +2/+2 until end of turn, so that's nice. The real handy card here that we're going to play around with, or that we're going to see about playing around with, is this Heartless Summoning. So it's a 2-cost enchantment, so it just sits there on the battlefield and gives us a special ability, essentially. And the special ability that it has is it makes each of our creatures cost less to play. So we're going to get out stuff a lot sooner than we otherwise would be capable of. Now, the downside to it is that our creatures the creatures that we have that we managed to get out come at a power and toughness loss. So they just have a static -1/-1 all the time. So our zombies that we make with Ghoul Caller will actually just be 1/1s, unfortunately. So we're going to have to figure out a way to, or we're going to have to get more zombies to try to offset this. And to kind of help us get there is we have this Gaia Reach Sanitarium that has, it's a land that has pay to tap it. Each player draws a card, then discards a card. So our deck can get stuff from the graveyard pretty easily because, I mean, it's zombies, and especially because of this card that we're going to talk about here in a little bit. So we're going to be able to draw extra cards each turn, and that's what we're going to try to do to be able to get ourselves to the zombies that help offset Heartless Summoning. Now, in case that doesn't work, we also have Zombie Apocalypse, which is a freaking awesome name. 3 colorless, 3 black sorcery. It has return all zombie creature cards from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped, then destroy all humans. So if we get too far behind, we have this as our backup plan to try to just get all of our zombies that we've lost over the course of the game back onto the battlefield all at once, and then essentially try to win the following turn. So let's get started with this deck. And we got ourselves an amazing zombie. This is already going to pay off for us. So Grave Titan is normally a 6 cost. So what we're going to look for is we're going to actually try to play it on turn 4 instead of turn 6. It's a 6/6 Death Touch Giant that has, whenever it enters the battlefield or it attacks, you put 2/2 black zombie creature tokens onto the battlefield. This is what we're looking for. This is the zombie that's going to help us break the game. So with that being said, on our main phase, after we draw a card, we go ahead and play a swamp. So I guess I haven't spelled it out before, but how turns work is that there are a number of different phases to each turn that you have to do in order. And at any point you can choose to end your turn if you want to. Well, I mean, sort of. You can't quite do it exactly whenever you want at instant speed, but kind of during a few of the main phases, you can choose to basically say, okay, I don't want to take any more of the rest of my turn. That's it. The things that you have to do for sure are at the beginning. There's kind of a beginning phase where some different stuff happens, mainly the untapping stuff. We typically say the untap phase, where you untap all of the permanents that you have that are tapped. And tapped just means that they've expelled their energy. So that's why, like, when you attack with something, it expelled its energy for the turn, so that's why you turn it sideways like this. And lands do the same thing. A land expels its energy to give you mana for the turn. So, and you use that mana to cast spells and activate abilities. So then after the untap step, you get Upkeep, and generally it's just a kind of sort of the place in the turn where all of the stuff that happens at the beginning happen. So there's a lot of stuff that at the beginning of your upkeep do this thing. And so there's not like a lot of time, so to speak, to be able to do anything on that phase. It's just kind of a phase for things to happen. Now, we may get, if in the more complicated games, we may get into more about how the stack works and stuff like that, but we're not going to be too concerned here in these kind of beginner games about worrying about the stack. So then after the upkeep step is your draw step, where you obviously just draw a card. And then after that is the main phase, which is the phase where you get to cast spells and activate abilities and play lands and do all of the stuff that you want to do for your turn that's not automatically happening because of the upkeep, so to speak. That's the first time that you can decide not to move on with the rest of your turn. You can decide to pass your turn from then on. After the main phase, there is a combat phase, and then after combat, you can have a second main phase where you can cast spells and such after combat has occurred. and then you end your turn. So we played our land for the turn, and we don't have combat, so we're just going to go ahead and pass to the next turn after that. So let's rotate back around to the demon deck over here. And in the demon deck, we are, like I said, aiming for stuff that we can play, stuff that we can cast instead of a land. And looky there, we did get something to cast. Unfortunately, it is an 8-cost card. It's another really big demon that will help us, that goes really well with Vilis and will help us clear the board. It has, well, it's an 8-cost 7/6 flyer. And it has pay a black, Pestilence Demon deals 1 damage to each creature and each player. So basically, pay a black, deal damage to everything, and draw a card because you were cute enough about it. So let's go ahead and play our second land for the turn. And so here we could play our Brood of Cockroaches, but we don't really need to because there's nothing else really out on the field to be worried about yet. And I mean, there's just having a blocker out doesn't necessarily do us much good, and it could give away what we plan to do. Somebody could end up, if we had a different kind of hand, if this wasn't what we were looking at necessarily, they could be thinking that we're going to do a lot of sacrifice related stuff. Because Brood of Cockroaches keeps returning. So you could sacrifice it to do something, to have an effect, and then it would return back to your hand. So we don't want to give away what we might do sometime in the future, so we're not going to play it now. We're going to wait until we really need something to be able to block. Now, we won't be able to block too much with the second deck because it's dragons, but there's always the chance that there's something that could be strong enough that we... that doesn't have flying because it's not a dragon. Okay, so let's start our turn. Untap, upkeep. We didn't have any untap or upkeep, so we just draw a card. Ooh, look at that. Ruby Medallion. Wow. Okay, so I talked about earlier, we have a choice here. So we drew this Ruby Medallion. We also have Dragon Whisperer. So we could play Dragon Whisperer, but the thing is that this line right here where we on our second turn play Ruby Medallion and then third turn play Warren Power Stone really puts us in a good position on our turn 4 and turn 5 to play a lot of stuff. We won't have room to be playing Ruby Medallion later if we don't play it now. So while this is a really good card, what we want to do is set up for our later turns, especially to be able to get Lathlas out. So we're going to play our second mountain that we have in our hand, and this is during our main phase. So untap, upkeep, draw, main phase 1. And now you can play 1 land a turn in Magic. So we pay 2 mana to cast Ruby Medallion, and the reason that this is good is because Ruby Medallion, I didn't say it earlier, so I'll say it now. Ruby Medallion has red spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. So now all of our dragons cost 1 less, which will help us out really, really well. It'll help us manage our mana, the amount of mana that we have to spend each turn a lot better. We can cast more things more frequently. So, since that's all we're going to do with our turn, we don't have any more mana to spend and nothing else in our hand to play, we're going to go ahead and pass to the zombie deck. And with the zombies, our untap, upkeep, draw, we have Death Baron. So just like I said, we were looking for zombies that give us +1/+1. So Death Baron is a 3-cost 2/2 zombie that has skeletons you control and other zombies you control get +1/+1 and have Death Touch, which is as perfect of a setup as it could possibly be. Now we play Heartless Summoning on 1 turn. We play Death Baron on the 2nd turn. I mean, this is our 2nd turn now, sorry. We'll play this on our 2nd turn, this turn right now. On our 3rd turn, we'll play Death Baron. On our 4th turn, we'll play Grave Titan. And bam, we've probably taken over the game at that point. So let's go ahead and there's something to think about here is if somebody else has gotten a big head start, we have a choice. We could choose to hold back, and so this kind of goes into the politics of table play. If somebody's really far ahead, we may not want ourselves to become too much of a target too early. But since nobody else is really doing anything right now, we can go ahead and try to take charge, get an early lead by go ahead and playing our Heartless Summoning now. Because being able to have things cost, all of our creatures cost 2 less is a really big deal. It means that we can get really far ahead really quickly. So just like Ruby Medallion can do the same thing, it just isn't quite as big of an effect as Heartless Summoning is for us. So that definitely makes it so that we could be enemy number 1 right now until either we lose a lot of life or we get the Heartless Summoning removed before we basically deal any damage. So hopefully that won't happen, but you never know. There's not much enchantment removal in red and black. That's kind of how the colors of Magic go. They're all good at different things. So green and white are the primary colors for getting rid of rid of enchantments. There are some colorless options available for getting rid of enchantments, and red has some destroy target permanent at random type things that could work, but pretty much we may be safe with our Heartless Summoning for the rest of the game, which is going to be really, really nice for us. So turning back to the demon deck, we have our untap upkeep. We draw a card for the turn. Sower of Discord. Awesome. We still can't quite play this card, but it costs a lot less and has a really good effect as well. It's a 6-cost 6/6 flying demon. When it enters the battlefield, choose 2 players. Whenever damage is dealt to one of the chosen players, the other chosen player also loses that much life. So what we're going to do is later on, when we're in a good position, we're going to play this card and deal a lot of damage to one player and hopefully maybe kill 2 players with 1 stone. So let's go ahead and play a swamp. And we can't do anything else right now. And like I said, we're still kind of trapped in this dilemma of when to play the Brood of Cockroaches. So you know what? Let's go ahead and play it now. Just because what I'm thinking is that maybe on our next turn, we'll want to play we may end up drawing a 4-cost spell, and we may want to cast it, but we may have already wanted the Brood of Cockroaches to be out as a blocker. So just to set up for a future turn that may or may not happen, we're going to go and play Brood of Cockroaches now as our sort of defensive wall against zombies. But the other part about it, of course, is that this also kind of makes us look more puny because 2 other people played really strong ramp cards, and all we did was go, the best we can do is cockroach, so please don't hurt me. Now let's move on to the dragon deck, and now we have our first untap step. So at the beginning of the turn, you untap all tapped permanents. So there were all of your tapped permanents. We don't have an upkeep, so we go to our draw step, and our draw step is Sarkhan's Unsealing. Whenever you cast a creature spell with power 4, 5, or 6, Sarkhan's Unsealing deals 4 damage to any target. When you cast a creature spell with power 7 or greater, Sarkhan's Unsealing deals 4 damage to each opponent and each creature and planeswalker they control. Yikes. So, right now, we could play this turn. But like I said, it may be more prudent to go ahead and continue ramping our mana. So we're going to go ahead and play Encroaching Wastes. Pay 3 mana, and put Worn Power Stone into play tapped. So it's a 3-cost artifact that it enters the battlefield tapped, and then tap, add 2 colorless mana to your mana pool. So now we're really set up. We'll have 4 mana. So next turn is going to be probably our big turn where we go ahead and cast Lathliss. It kind of depends on what we see. So it could be that Sarkhan's Unsealing ends up being our choice instead in case the other deck like the zombies get out something ridiculous. We may want to go ahead and try to kill something with Sarkhan's Unsealing as soon as possible. So with that being said, that's the end of our turn, and we're going to move on to zombies. And with zombies, we're looking at untapping just our 2 swamps. So untap, upkeep, draw a card, and our card for the turn is Cemetery Reaper, which is other zombies you control get +1/+1. It's a 3-cost 2/2. And then it has pay 2 colorless, tap, exile target creature card from a graveyard, put a 2/2 black zombie creature token onto the battlefield. So that's gonna be really helpful later on. For right now, though, we're going to, like I said, we're going to play a swamp. Then we're going to pay 2 mana to cast Death Baron. And like I said, because of Heartless Summoning, the Death Baron is only a 1/1 right now. But it does, instead of paying 3 mana, all of our 3 mana, we now only have to pay 2 black. And the colorless mana is taken up by this. So we're also going to, since we can, we're going to take the opportunity to pay a single black to cast Ferexian Ghoul. So Ferexian Ghoul is the one that we talked about at the beginning of the game. It's now a 1/1, but it has sacrifice a creature. It gets +2/+2 until end of turn. So with only 3 land, we were able to cast 6 mana's worth of cards. So that's how good Heartless Summoning is. It gets us so much mana just because it's there. So let's move on to the demon deck. And the demon deck is looking a little scared right now. The demon deck is hoping that we can win back the game later on, that our cards will be more powerful. So how it kind of works, the reason that there's 2 for each color of mana is because essentially there's a big tribe and a small tribe. With the big tribe, it has really big cards with really powerful effects. But with a small tribe, it has a lot of small creatures that have incremental effects that go together, help like cohesion between each of the cards, and make all of this, all of the small cards are more powerful because there's a bunch of them all together. So our hope here is that we can kind of win back the game by getting to our higher mana amounts and casting something that has a really big effect on the field. So let's go and see what we get this turn. We're going to untap, draw a card. It is Demon of Wailing Agonies. As long as you control your commander, it's a 5-cost 4/4 flying, and it has, as long as you control your commander, Demon of Wailing Agonies gets +2/+2, and has, whenever Demon of Wailing Agonies deals combat damage to a player, that player sacrifices a creature. So unfortunately, this is just going to be a 4/4 blocker for now, because we're still trying to work into getting our commander out. At this point, what I'm going to do is, just in case, okay, no, I'm going to hold on to it. Well, we may talk about it later. For now, I'm just going to go ahead and play another swamp. We didn't get anything else that we needed, so that's it for our turn. And we're going to go ahead and pass and just kind of cross our fingers that we look pathetic enough that we're not going to be attacked. So turning over to the dragon deck, we have untap, upkeep, draw a card. Brood of Dragon Dragon Roost. It is a 6-cost enchantment that has pay 5 colorless and 2 black. Put a 5/5 red dragon creature token with flying into play. Oh boy. So if we didn't, if we were worried about getting Lathless out, if Lathless dies too often, then we still have this card as our backup to just keep getting out more and more dragons. So since we're just kind of normal now, we're not worried about Lathless not like dying or something like that. We're going to go ahead and play Haven of the Spirit Dragon, which is a land that can tap for any color of mana to cast dragon spells. Now, we're mono red, so we're not really worried about color, but the second ability, well, I should say the third ability, because it can tap for mana, that's one ability. And then it can tap for any color of mana, for dragons specifically. And then it has pay 2 colorless, tap, sacrifice this land, return target dragon creature card or Ugin planeswalker card from your graveyard to your hand. So, just in case Lathless dies, we could actually sacrifice this land to get it back. So, like I said, I think what we're going to do is go ahead and pay 1, 2, 3, 4. We will cast Lathless. Now, unfortunately, it's looking like we don't really have too much else we can do this turn. So we are going to go ahead and pass for now. Next turn, we will be able to, most likely what we'll do, there's no artifacts out. So next turn, what we're going to try to do is we're going to see about playing Sarkhan's Unsealing and also playing Archwing Dragon and trying to kill something with it. So we will see. Now let's go ahead and pass to the zombies who are gaining steam as we speak. As we turn to the zombie deck, we are going to untap our lands, draw a card, and the card that we drew is a Planeswalker. So Planeswalkers act a little bit differently from creatures in that they kind of seem like they might be creatures because they are typically some kind of humanoid type thing. Not all of them are, I don't think, but most of them are some kind of human thing. So you could see them as maybe a creature, but the fact of the matter is that on the card itself, it says Planeswalker Liliana. So it is not a creature, as opposed to, if we look at Death Baron here, it says creature zombie wizard. So Planeswalkers, what they do is you pay their cost to play it. It comes out. It has a starting number at the bottom. In this case, it's 3. So you're paying 4 to have 3 what's known as loyalty counters. And then it has a set of 3 different abilities. It could have anywhere from 1 to 4 abilities on a Planeswalker card, and each of those abilities have a plus or minus on them. So all it means is that you can add or subtract loyalty counters to activate that ability, and you have to have enough loyalty counters to pay it. So if Liliana has a -3 ability, if I didn't have 3 loyalty counters, say I had 1, I couldn't activate that ability. So Liliana has +1 loyalty. Search your library for a swamp card, reveal it, and put it into your hand. Then shuffle your library. So it's essentially a ramp card. It's going to help us get more mana if we can't figure out how to find our lands. It then has -3. Target creature gets +X/+X or -X/-X until end of turn, where X is the number of swamps you control. So that will help us probably try to kill a creature that's really big once we have enough swamps. And then its final ability. So Planeswalkers typically have what's known as like their ultimate, so to speak, kind of their smash attack if we were in Super Smash Brothers. Her final ability is you get an emblem that says swamps you control have tap, add 4 black mana to your mana pool. So basically, if we can power her up by using her first ability enough times, we can make it so that all of our swamps tap for a ridiculous amount of mana, and then we'll never have to worry about mana ever again. So we're not going to play her now. We already have a strategy for where we're going. We may play her next turn, though. So we're going to start by using all 4 of our mana to cast Grave Titan. And Grave Titan, 6/6 for 6. When it enters the battlefield, we get 2 zombies. So let's get our zombies out. And whenever it attacks, I get to put 2 more zombies into play. And it also has Death Touch just naturally. So if we lose our Death Baron, our Grave Titan will actually still have Death Touch. Now, we could do a few different things here. I'm thinking what we want to do. So you can kind of visualize what I have here. Our Phyrexian Ghoul and our Death Baron are the only creatures that can attack right now that we have. These guys came into play. They have a thing kind of known colloquially as summoning sickness. So they're too sick from being summoned to be able to attack this turn or to use any abilities. But because these guys were out since last turn, we can go ahead and do things with these. Now, we really don't want to lose Death Baron. We could see Death Baron is just a 1/1 right now. So he's really weak. He can't even survive a single cockroach, apparently. But we want to fix that later. But for right now, we really don't want to lose him. So we're not going to attack with him. We're just going to hold him back for now. That being said, Phyrexian Ghoul is a card that we could go ahead and attack with. And because it has Death Touch, that makes it really dangerous, especially against a big dragon that might not want to die yet. So we're going to put our dragon friend on over there. We're going to put him into a kind of sticky situation. We do that by go ahead and declaring Phyrexian Ghoul as an attacker, which we really want to start doing now. The dragons have shown their true colors, and they're definitely going to start pounding us if we're not careful. So the way to make that up is that Phyrexian Ghoul will just be a 1/1 whenever it attacks. So now, let me go ahead and turn the table a little bit. So the dragon deck can certainly choose to block it, but that would mean losing the commander to just a measly 1/1. Like, we really don't want to lose to a 1/1. Like, that would not be very fun. So we could choose not to block. But if we choose not to block, then after we choose not to block, before damage is actually calculated, the Phyrexian Ghoul has this ability that is sacrifice a creature. Phyrexian Ghoul gets +2/+2 until end of turn. So if the dragons choose not to block, then we could sacrifice both of the zombies we just created to suddenly deal more damage. Deal 5 damage instead of 1. That's no good. So the dragon deck, though, it's too costly to lose the commander right now. So we're not going to block, and yes, we are going to choose to go ahead and sacrifice both of these zombies to, well, okay, so actually, let's not. And I'll tell you why next turn. Well, I'll tell you why right now. The reason I'm not going to do it is because next turn, instead of playing Liliana, which we certainly could do, instead we're going to go ahead and play Cemetery Reaper. And Cemetery Reaper is going to give all of our zombies another +1/+1. So these zombies, instead of being... So they're right now, they're just 2/2s, right? Because we have -1 here and +1 here. So whatever their original power and toughness, that's what they are. But next turn, if we play Cemetery Reaper, they're going to be 3/3s, which means they'll deal 6 damage in total by themselves, which means that we actually will next turn probably deal more damage because we kept them than if we sacrificed them to Phyrexian Ghoul. So as sort of a surprise and maybe showing our hand a little bit, we're going to choose not to sacrifice. And I say we're revealing our hand a little bit right now because the dragon deck is expecting the sacrifice, because the sacrifice, zombies eating zombies, they're expecting that sacrifice because it makes sense. It makes sense to try to get damage in now while they can, because they're not really saving themselves any damage by keeping the zombies, right? Because if the zombies are just 2/2s right now, then we'd still deal 5 damage next turn. So we must have something else up our sleeve that we're planning on next turn. So the dragon deck, if you were the dragon deck, if you were playing it right now, you would probably be suspicious that there wasn't sacrificing going on. So if we keep going around, we look at the demon deck again. The demon deck scraped by, which may not happen next turn, but scraped by. We don't have anything to untap. We don't have an upkeep. Draw a card. It is a swamp. That's not really what we want to see, but we will go ahead and play it because what we're going to do is go ahead and get our Demon of Wailing Agonies out. Now, the reason that I'm playing this now, even though I don't get the advantage of its ability that needs my commander, which is Vilis, Broker of Blood, out. Even though it doesn't get that advantage, it is a flying creature that we're going to use to block dragons in case we need to. Because there's always the chance that the dragon deck is going to play some kind of 4/4 dragon. So this just means they have to attack us with an even bigger dragon to be able to do something. Because right now, we're going to use the Brood of Cockroaches to block Grave Titan if it comes our way. If it doesn't come our way, so much the better, but Brood of Cockroaches is kind of our insurance, our infinite single blocking wall for now. So let's go ahead and end our turn. We don't have anything else to do. We will just pass to the dragon deck. Like I said, dragons are very, very suspicious now, but thankfully we still have a pretty clear line of what we want to do. We drew another dragon, Voracious Dragon, so that's not too bad. It is a 5-cost 4/4 flying, and it has Devour 1. As this card enters the battlefield, you may sacrifice any number of creatures. This creature enters the battlefield with that many +1/+1 counters on it. So you can sacrifice things that you have to give it +1/+1. And then when it enters the battlefield fully, it deals damage to target creature or player equal to the number of goblins it devoured. So there are a few goblins in the deck. Since we haven't seen them yet, that's fine. It still will be a 4/4 dragon that essentially gives us a free 5/5 dragon. So that's looking really good. But that being said, let's take account of how much mana that we have. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 mana. So if we look at this, do we have enough to cast the cards that we want? And it looks like we do. So we have Sarkhan, I talked about last turn, Sarkhan's Unsealing and Archwing Dragon are the cards that we wanted to play. We needed 3 red mana, which we have, and then the costs are reduced by 1 each. So this is really 3 cost and 3 cost. So this right here, 1 red, 2 colorless, is enough to cast Sarkhan's Unsealing, which we will go ahead and do. And then we have 2 red and a colorless to cast Archwing Dragon. So 2 things happen at this point. We have an activation from Lathless, and then we have an activation from Sarkhan's Unsealing. So what we're looking at, let's go ahead and do the dragon first because it's pretty straightforward. Let's go ahead and grab our, let's see, it needs to be a 5/5 dragon. So let's go ahead and put a 5/5 dragon into play. Technically, these are switched because I'm doing it because it's easier, because Lathless creating a dragon doesn't cause any issues, but we get our free dragon. Now, and I say that because Sarkhan's Unsealing happens when you call out a card to play. So when we paid the cost for Archwing Dragon, we said, look, we are going to cast Archwing Dragon. This ability happens before anything else happens with Archwing Dragon. So in this case, we cast a creature spell with power 4, so we get to deal 4 damage to any target. Looking at it, we are going to go ahead and deal 4 damage directly to Death Baron. So let's go and turn a little bit here because we're going to do mostly stuff between the dragons and the zombies. Except they're both getting kind of scary right now. So we're going to deal 4 damage to Death Baron. And the reason that we're doing that is because Death Baron gives everything Death Touch. And we really don't like that. That's dumb. That's a no-no. We can't allow that. That allows little guys to kill big guys. So we're not going to do that. There are other targets, but Grave Titan right now is still, well, while Death Baron was out, Grave Titan was a 6/6, so we couldn't really kill it. Now it's a 5/5, so it's closer to being able to kill it, but still not quite there. So that's why we chose Death Baron. Now Archwing Dragon comes into play, so we get a 5/5 dragon, and this guy, probably what's going to happen is the zombie deck is going to have to make a choice that if they attack the dragon deck, we will have a 5/5 to kill their Grave Titan with, presuming that they don't have any other shenanigans, which we will get to next turn. So after we cast our spells, we will go to the attack step, and in this case, so I'm thinking here that we're okay letting the demon deck get away for 1 turn. We're going to go and slap the zombie deck for 10 damage in the air. The zombie deck, unfortunately, doesn't have any blockers for that. All of their stuff is on the ground, piddling around, fumbling with their spears and their swords, so they can't do anything about it. They're just going to take 10 damage flying in the air, and that's what flying does. It means that they can't be blocked unless the opposing player has flying creatures as well. So now the zombie deck is at, the zombie deck is at 30 life. So we start at 40 in Commander. So I'm trying to find black dice here. So we just lost 10 life. These are 20-sided dice. So here's the 10, and we are at 30 now. Okay. So at the end of the turn, so we don't forget, Archwing Dragon has its ability happen that returns it to our hand. And we are still looking at 5 cards in hand, so we are not exceeding the number of cards that we can hold at a time. So let us continue over to zombies and see what they have up their sleeve. Well, we kind of know what they have up their sleeve. Let's go and untap, draw a card. Fraying Omnipotence. Interesting. We can't play this for now, but we can talk about it. So Fraying Omnipotence is a 5-cost sorcery, 3 colorless, 2 black. It has each player loses half of their life, then discards half the cards in their hand, then sacrifices half the creatures they control. Round up each time. So if we were really far behind, we could double up on these 2 cards. That's what we would do. We would play Fraying Omnipotence, then we would keep Zombie Apocalypse in our hand, and then cast Zombie Apocalypse to get all of our zombies back onto the battlefield. So we're going to hold off on those for now. Instead, we're going to go ahead and pay 2 black to cast Cemetery Reaper. So Cemetery Reaper gives other zombies +1/+1, and then it has its other ability to create zombies by exiling creature cards. So now our Grave Titan is back to being a 6/6 Death Touch. So now the 5/5 dragon on the dragon side cannot block us without dying. They wouldn't take any damage, but they oh shoot, I forgot to count the dragon deck is actually at 39. We forgot to add in the damage from the Ferexian Ghoul last turn. So let's go ahead and swing with Grave Titan against the dragon deck in retaliation for that. And because we attacked, we actually get 2 more zombies. So we are going to do something with these zombies later on, but for now, this is all we're going to do. We're kind of saving them up for a special occasion, maybe. So, back to the dragon deck. The dragon deck, like I said, can't block without losing its dragon. So we do have a decision to make. I think it's actually okay, because next turn the dragon deck most likely, so looking at the decision process here, the dragon deck is kind of going, okay, so we really do want that dragon, but we also are going to probably play 2 dragons next turn and get 2 more. Well, we're going to try to. We may not be able to, but we're going to certainly try to play 2 dragons next turn. So when we do that, we'll get 2 more of these dragon tokens. So we won't be too far behind by sacrificing 1 now just to block Grave Titan. So let's go ahead and do that. We'll lose our dragon, but we will take no damage. So that is the end of combat for that turn. There is some other things to talk about here. Like I said, I could attack with more creatures. We could do the Phyrexian Ghoul trick again. But I don't, like I said, we're keeping the zombies out again because we're kind of bluffing. That's the other part about it. We're bluffing that we still have more things in our hand other than Cemetery Reaper that could be coming out that we want these zombie tokens for. So until the bluff doesn't work anymore, it makes more sense to go and hold off on it for now and kind of give a little wink wink. Because we don't know what we're going to draw. So let's go ahead and shuffle on over to the demon deck and see if they can keep surviving without taking damage. I think that's about out of time for them, so they're going to take some damage here soon, but we'll see how much damage it's going to be. So we untapped for the turn. We draw a card, Deadly Tempest. Destroy all creatures. Each player loses life to the number of equal to the number of creatures he or she controlled that were destroyed this way. Wow, that's good. Now, that being said, this is good, but one of the things that we may want to keep an eye out for is that we actually have Bojuka Bog in our hand. That's a land that we were holding on to. I didn't really say much about it before, but Bojuka Bog will allow us to exile all the cards in target player's graveyard. So those zombies that the zombie player is hoping to kind of keep control, like their graveyard, they think they're confident that they'll be able to return things from their graveyard. So what we'll do is we'll destroy everything, and then we'll play Bojuka Bog to get rid of it permanently so they can't ever bring it back. So for now, we're actually just going to go ahead and play another swamp and then pass the turn and see how that plays out for us, so that next turn we're set up to do our Deadly Tempest, Bojuka Bog. And this Deadly Tempest is what's going to get us back into the game, because we're behind in ramp, we're behind kind of in card advantage, but we can essentially reset the board next turn. So that's going to be to our advantage, because we played so little this whole time that we're not losing out too much compared to everybody else. So moving on, passing back to the dragon deck, we are going to untap, upkeep, draw a card. Let's take a look, and it is Balefire Dragon. Hoo boy! Let's see how much mana that we have. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Literally just enough to cast it. Wow, that's good. Okay. Let's see here. We actually probably want to go ahead and play Balefire Dragon now. We could play the Archwing Dragon and keep doing that trick with getting damage and getting a free dragon, but Balefire Dragon is a really cool card. Let's go ahead and cast it. So we call it out as the spell we're casting this turn. We paid our mana because it costs 1 less with Ruby Medallion. Then Sarkhan's Unsealing, because we cast a creature spell with power 6. We get to deal 4 damage to a creature. Let's go ahead and deal 4 damage to... let's think about this. So we could kill a demon. We could kill a zombie. I think we go ahead and kill the demon this turn. We're really not sure what the demon deck is doing. It has 6 open mana, so we're going to go ahead and kill the Demon of Wailing Agonies with the 4 damage that we have from Sarkhan's Unsealing. Now, Balefire Dragon enters the battlefield. It is a 7-cost 6/6 flyer, and it has, whenever it deals combat damage to a player, it deals that much damage to each creature that player controls. As far as the Dragon deck is concerned right now, we don't really know what the Demon deck is going to do. We don't know what the Zombie deck has, but Balefire Dragon can go over the heads of anything and essentially burn out all of the creatures that the Zombie deck has. That puts us really far ahead if we can manage to keep a hold of the Balefire Dragon. So once Balefire Dragon enters, Lathless Dragon Queen gives us a free 5/5 dragon. So we can't double attack this turn, but we are set up really well to keep zombies from ever being able to be a problem for the rest of the game. So let's go ahead and declare Lathless Dragon Queen as our attacker. This time, like I said, just to kind of keep things even, let's go ahead and attack the Demon deck. So the Demon deck is going to, it doesn't have any blockers to be able to stop us. So they're going to go ahead and take 6 commander damage. So we are actually, the Demon deck is now at 34. And I forgot to do this earlier, but we have some commander damage that we needed to keep track of. So far, sorry, I had to reach across to go grab some of these cards to write on. So both the zombie deck and the demon deck have taken 6 commander damage. When it comes to commander, if a player takes 21 or more damage from a single commander, then they lose the game automatically. So for zombies have taken 6 damage from dragons. From the dragon commander, I should say. Oops. Dragom. Oof, oof. Okay, there you go. Oh, dragons. Maybe I should just say dragons. Okay, there you go. That's better. Kind of sloppy writing, but that's okay. And then the demons have now also taken 6 commander damage. We're attacking the demons, even though they haven't done anything to us, because it's late enough in the game that it's kind of socially acceptable to go ahead and attack them and know that at some point they're going to try to do something to us, especially with 6 open mana. We don't know what it is, but maybe we'll find out one day before they die. So I'm going to keep these off screen to keep track so we know how much commander damage they've taken. Okay. So with the dragon turn done, we are going to go ahead and pass back to the zombies. So with the zombie deck, we're going to untap, and we only attacked with Grave Titans, so we don't have too much to untap. Untap, draw a card. It is Newscraft Mob. So Newscraft Mob it's a 6 cost, and it actually has 0 power, but it enters the battlefield with 6 +1/+1 counters. Whenever a player casts a spell, remove a +1/+1 counter from Newscraft Mob and create a 2/2 zombie. So that's pretty good. I don't think it's as good as what else we have, but we really are starting to need some more mana, and we really want to start drawing some more cards. So we have to really take into account what we have and what we can do. The dragons are going to slam us next turn, and that is no joke. We cannot allow that to happen if at all possible. Which kind of would be nice if we had the extra mana to play Fraying Omnipotence, but we don't. So what we need to do this turn is, especially since we're going to lose most of our creatures this turn, we need to attack the dragon deck. And we're also going to first set ourselves up to be able to play Fraying Omnipotence when we need to. So we're going to play Liliana of the Dark Realm. She comes into play with 3 loyalty counters. And then we are going to add a loyalty counter to search our library for a swamp card, reveal it, and put it into our hand. So here's our swamp card. We're going to put it into our hand, but ultimately we're going to just go ahead and play it. And now we have the mana that we need to be able to cast Fraying Omnipotence next turn. And then the turn after that, if we're lucky, we'll either draw another swamp, or if Liliana has managed to survive, then we'll be able to cast Zombie Apocalypse and get all of our stuff back. While hopefully the dragon deck has lost the Balefire Dragons. So I guess we'll have to find out. But I'm going to finish shuffling here real quick, and then we will get to our combat. So like I said, pretty much we're going to attack with everything. We really want to hit the dragon deck because we know the dragon deck is going to retaliate next turn regardless of what we do. So let's go ahead and declare our attackers. We're just going to say everything over towards the dragon deck. And once we attacked with Grave Titan, we actually get 2 free zombies again. So cool. We have so many zombies just from Grave Titan. And now the dragon deck has to choose how it wants to block. So we're not worried about Death Touch now because Death Baron is in our graveyard here. And they're pretty much tapped out. We saw them. They were desperate for mana. So we know that they have something in our hand that they want to cast because Liliana at this point could be killed by pretty much anything. So let's go ahead and we're going to block the Grave Titan again. So our 5/5 dragon is going to unfortunately eat it one more time. We still do have the 6/6 Balefire Dragon. Like I said, we're not too concerned about the Balefire Dragon dying this turn. There are a few removal spells that the zombie deck could cast. There's certainly a bunch of removal spells that the demon deck could cast, but we're just going to have to block as much damage as we can. So we're going to go ahead and block the Cemetery Reaper to depower the zombies just in case. So the Cemetery Reaper only deals 2 damage. The Balefire Dragon is a 6/6, so the Balefire Dragon wins that exchange. And then what's left that's unblocked is we have a number of zombies here. Each of them deal 2 damage each, so that's going to be 8 damage for sure. Then we have Ferexian Ghoul that would be dealing will deal 2 damage for sure, but we're going to go ahead and sacrifice the 2 zombies that we made with Grave Titan this turn that couldn't attack. We're going to sacrifice both of them to give Ferexian Ghoul +4/+4 because it's +2/+2 each activation, so 2 activations +4/+4. So Ferexian Ghoul is now dealing 6 damage, taking our dragon deck to 25 life. That is the end of combat for that turn. So we will move over to the demon deck, which did nothing essentially this turn. They did not take any damage. They took damage from the dragons, which is fine. I mean, 6 damage isn't anything to sneeze at, but it could have been worse, certainly. So we don't have anything to untap. Draw our card, Hostile Desert. That's fine. It's another land. Gets us 1 mana closer. We didn't really need it because of the ramp spell in our hand, but in any case, what we are going to do is what we talked about last turn. We are going to pay 6 mana. We are going to cast Deadly Tempest. Destroy all creatures. Each player loses life equal to the number of creatures he or she controlled that were destroyed this way. So I lose 1 life because I destroyed my own creature, which is okay. The dragon deck, let's go ahead and spin it real slow. So the dragon deck has 2 creatures, so it's going to lose 2 life. Balefire Dragon, sadly, goes into the graveyard. Our Lathless Dragon Queen, we could put into the graveyard, but like I said, we have our sneaky little Haven of the Spirit Dragon here. So we're just going to go ahead and move Lathless into the command zone because Balefire Dragon is such a good dragon to return with Haven of the Spirit Dragon. So, sorry. So we are at 23 with the dragon deck. And then continuing even further over to the zombies. The zombies, unfortunately. So here's the other trick, is that in response, we could be losing 6 creatures. We're going to lose them anyway, but we could be losing 6 creatures and taking 6 life. So instead of doing that, we're going to actually sacrifice each of these zombies to Phyrexian Ghoul. So we'll do these 4 zombies one at a time. 4 zombies. We're making it really big. Then we're going to sacrifice our Grave Titan to Phyrexian Ghoul. So that goes into the graveyard. And then, strangely enough, because of the way this ability reads, Phyrexian Ghoul can actually sacrifice any creature to try to boost its power, including itself. So we are going to sacrifice Phyrexian Ghoul to itself to put it into the graveyard. And now we lose no creature. We don't have any creatures dying from the Deadly Tempest. So we lose no life. Nice little trick, huh? Now, let's keep going around and look at the rest of the turn for the demons. Because the demons, like I said, have one last little thing to do this turn because they used up all their mana for Deadly Tempest. But there's still one more thing to do. We still need to play a land this turn. We have a very special land. We have the Jukabog. Exile all creatures in target player's graveyard. Well, all cards in this case. Yeah, all cards. So, here's the thing. We could get rid of Balefire Dragon. That's 1 creature. And we know that they're probably going to return Balefire Dragon to their hand, but they won't. The Dragon deck only has so much mana. They only have 5 mana here. Balefire Dragon costs 7. So with the 1 reduction, they still need to draw another land because they're getting rid of Haven of the Spear Dragon to be able to get the Balefire Dragon out. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mana. They need 6 mana to recast Balefire Dragon, so they still need to draw another land or something else that gets mana. And by that point, we will have our 8/8 demon out. So we're not too concerned about the Balefire Dragon. Now, the thing is that the zombie deck, on the other hand, they might actually be able to get multiple of their zombies back out of their graveyard by their next turn, and that could be really troublesome, especially with what they have. Multiple pump effects, Grave Titan, a sacrifice outlet. This is all no good. So we're going to go ahead and exile their graveyard from the game. They no longer get it. It's never coming back. That's it. So after we get done with demons, we will pass to the dragons. The dragons will untap, upkeep, draw. Well, there's our land. Let's go ahead and play that land. Let's go ahead and pay 2. Well, actually, let's do this. We're going to pay 2, sacrifice Haven of the Spirit Dragon to return Balefire Dragon to our hand, just in case something could happen. Now, we could wait to do something, but I think that it's smart now to go ahead and get a dragon out. We're going to go ahead and pay 4 mana here. So normally Voracious Dragon costs 5 mana, but our Ruby Medallion reduces the cost by 1. So we are going to get Voracious Dragon out as a 4/4 flyer so that we have at least something out, because we'll be able to attack with it next turn. We aren't really sure what the demon deck is capable of at this point, but at least it's something out. And with that, we also activate Sarkhan's Unsealing, which deals 4 damage to any target, so creature or player or planeswalker. So in this case, we have a couple of choices. We could get revenge on the demon deck and just deal 4 damage to their face, but we can do that at any point. I think right now the smartest thing to do is to go ahead and deal 4 damage to the zombies Liliana, so that Liliana can't get more land at this point. So Liliana is going to go ahead and bite the dust, literally. Now, with our turn done, we're going to pass to the zombie deck. Zombie deck is in shambles. Let us untap, draw a card, It is Eternal Taskmaster. So not great, but that's okay. We're going to go ahead and let's see here. Let's go ahead and pay 4 mana to cast Newsgraph Mob. So this will get us a few more zombies in the coming turns. That's because it comes into play with 5 counters on it, and then whenever anybody casts a spell, we remove a counter and get a free zombie. So we increase the amount of creatures that we have and stuff that we can do by having more zombies out. So that's what we're going to go ahead and do. It also gives us a decently sized creature. It's only a 4/4 because of the Heartless Summoning. And that's also why, let's see, that's 5 mana. We need 5. It costs 6 to cast, sorry. So, no wait, it's -2. Never mind. It is 4. So, Heartless Summoning reduces by 2. It does normally cost 6, so we'll go ahead and get it out now. Let us move over to the Demon deck and see what it is capable of. Because I think right now we're just going to go ahead and play Villas and hop, skip, or jump our way into chaos and destruction with demons. So untap, upkeep, draw a card. It is Elbrus the Binding Blade. Ooh. We will see about that later. For now, we're going to go ahead and play our 8th land, and that means that we have 8 mana to cast Phyllis, Broker of Blood. Flying 8/8 to remind you, and it has whenever I lose life, I draw that many cards, and then pay a black, pay 2 life. Target creature gets -1/-1 until end of turn. Who baby, we're going to be drawing all the cards in the entire world here soon. So let us, since we cast a spell this turn, the Newsgraph Mob will remove a counter and create a zombie. I'm going to do that a little bit off screen here. I'm going to turn a little bit more just so it's easier to reach. Newsgraph Mob gets a counter removed and then gets a zombie. Now, the Dragon deck. Let's untap, upkeep, draw, Mountain. Okay. We're going to keep... Thankfully, we drew some more mountains to start doing some more things. Actually, strangely enough, we are going to be able to do something about Villas this turn just because of that, just because we were able to draw extra land. So we are going to pay 2. We are going to cast Archwing Dragon. And when we cast Archwing Dragon... Oh, sorry, 3. So we're going to tap it using this card. So we have 1 floating colorless mana. So when we cast Archwing Dragon, that activates Sarkhan's Unsealing, and we're going to deal 4 damage directly to Villas, Broker of Blood. Then we are going to pay 2 more red, and I said a little bit earlier, we have that floating mana from Worn Powerstone. We are going to also cast Opportunistic Dragon, and because it is also 4 power, then Sarkhan's Unsealing is going to activate a second time and deal 4 more damage to Villas, which means our Villas, unfortunately, is going to die. Ouch. Took so long to get out, and now it's dead. Okay. So we've set the Demon deck back far enough again to be able to just continue with our assault on the zombies. The zombies managed to get 2 more zombies because we cast 2 more spells. So let's go and turn a little bit more. We're going to do the same thing again. Newsgraph Mob gets 2 counters removed. It was at 4, so we're going to remove 2 counters, get 2 zombies. Here we go. And now at this point, our Newsgraph Mob is only a 1/1, so 1 more counter, 1 more spell is going to kill it. So since the zombie deck is ahead now, we're going to go and use our Voracious Dragon to swing and deal 4 damage against the zombies because they can't block with their little puny zombie thingies. So they are going to take that 4 damage and be down to 26 life. And then at the end of our turn, because of Archwing Dragon's ability, it returns to our hand, and we get it back to be able to activate Sarkhan's Unsealing another day. Let's go over to the zombie deck. The zombie deck untaps, upkeep, draw a card. It is a swamp, not too bad. We actually kind of sort of wanted it, so that's not too bad. Unfortunately, our plan with Fraying Omnipotence and Zombie Apocalypse isn't really a good strategy now. So what we're going to do is we're going to first go ahead and tap Gaia Reach Sanitarium, and have each player draw a card, then discard a card. So we are going to discard the card that we just drew, I think, because it is Graveyard Marshal. It's not too bad of a card because it's a 2-cost 3/2 zombie, and then it has pay 2 colorless and a black, exile a creature card from your graveyard, from just yours, not somebody else's, to create a tapped 2/2 zombie. So if we had a lot of creatures that we didn't care about in our graveyard, then we could get rid of them. But in this case, we actually do care about trying to keep creatures in our graveyard for now, basically because we have Zombie Apocalypse in hand. So that means that we have to see what else everybody else drew because of Gaia Reach Sanitarium. So dragons drew a mountain. They really like the hand that they have, but most likely the Dragon Whisperer is possibly the weakest card that we have here. So just in case we need the extra land, we're going to go ahead and discard the Dragon Whisperer for now. Times sometimes change. Sometimes you have to get rid of things that were otherwise really good earlier. So we got Ritual of Soot. Destroy all creatures with converted mana cost 3 or less. So that's not too bad, but it doesn't really save us on the zombies. The rest of the cards in our hand are really good. I'm kind of thinking that maybe we go ahead and discard the Ritual of Soot for now, just because we have a creature that acts as a repeatable ward wipe. So we're sort of fine letting that be how it goes. Okay, so zombies get to go. They are looking to see what they can do. I think at this point, like I said, Gravecaller Gissa, our commander, is sort of always our backup plan. If we don't really have anything else to do, we can always rely on her to make more zombies. So we're going to go ahead and pay 3 mana to cast Ghoulcaller Gissa. And that's because our Heartless Summoning reduces her cost by 2. So she normally costs 5, now she costs 3. So we cast a spell that removes a counter from Newscraft Mob and creates another zombie. And because Newscraft Mob is now a 0/0 because of the Heartless Summoning, it automatically dies. We don't get that last counter, which is okay. We have other plans. We will work on that, but for now, that's what we have. We have doing it like this. We have 4 zombies and Ghoulcaller Gissa. We're going to have to find our way. We're going to try to dig our way into some more creatures that we can power up zombies with and start powering out more and more zombies with Ghoulcaller Gissa. So that is the end of our turn for now. We're just going to go ahead and, well, actually, at this point, the dragons are going to fly over our head. So we could reevaluate this. We have 1 zombie that can't attack this turn. These 3 can attack. So we're going to go ahead and attack with them and deal 3 damage to the demon deck because there's nothing over there to block. So the demons are now at exactly 30 life. So let's keep going around to see. Oh, crap. Actually, we're at 29. I forgot. At the end of the turn that we killed everything, we actually got the Brood of Cockroaches back into our hand. So we actually do have this in our hand. Now, it is the demon's turn. So untap, upkeep, draw a card. It is Dream Devourer. Each non-land card in your hand without Foretell now has Foretell. Its Foretell cost is equal to its mana cost reduced by 2 colorless. So basically, during our turn, we can foretell a card by paying its cost, by paying 2 colorless to exile it from our hand face down. And then at any time that that spell could be played, so like a regular creature spell can only be cast on our turn, it costs that much mana to cast it from exile -2. And then whenever we foretell a card, Dream Devourer gets +2, +0 until end of turn. So basically what we're gonna do is we're going to use it to cast our spells a lot quicker from exile, because basically we'll pay part of the cost one turn and then we'll pay the rest of the cost later. And even if Dream Devourer dies, then we will still be able to cast things from exile using that effect. So we are going to go ahead and we're going to pay 2 to, so right now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We need 10 mana to be able to cast the Villas again. And so this gets us to 9, but we need 1 more mana, and unfortunately we don't have 7 cards in our graveyard to power up the Cabal Ritual. So we're going to hold off on Cabal Ritual for now. Actually, what we could do... Yeah, I think that's what we're going to do. Okay, I'm going to be sneaky here. We're going to go ahead and play Dream Devourer. Then we are going to exile a number of the cards in our hand. So we're going to pay 2 to exile the Pestilence Demon. Then we're going to pay 2 to exile Cabal Ritual. And then we're going to pay 2 to exile Elbrus the Binding Blade, which we will get to. So that settles our turn. We just basically emptied our hand. So now those cards are essentially untouchable. Nobody can really do anything to those cards now that they're exiled. And they're going to cost less whenever we finally decide to cast them. So let's move back over to the Dragon deck. The Dragon deck is kind of afraid of whatever could be exiled now. So we're going to untap, upkeep, draw a card. It is a land, which is kind of unfortunate since we got rid of a regular card when we were just going to draw another land, but that's okay. That's okay. We'll go ahead and play that land. Then we will go ahead and look and see how much mana we have. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 mana. So our Lathless Dragon Queen normally costs 6. Because it got killed, it costs an additional 2 mana, but that 2 is reduced by 1 because of the Ruby Medallion. So instead of 8 mana, it costs 7. So let's go ahead and do it like this. So this is 5 mana and then 6, 7, and we will cast Lathless Dragon Queen from our command zone. And when that happens, casting Lathless activates Sarkhan's Unsealing, and Sarkhan's Unsealing allows us to deal 4 damage to anything if the power of the creature we cast was 4, 5, or 6. So we have a few choices. We could go ahead and kill the Dream Devourer, but pretty much the damage with it has already been done. The Demon deck has essentially nothing in its hand. It got rid of 3 cards with the Foretell ability. So we're not really like... They probably don't really have anything in hand. So killing Dream Devourer now doesn't really do us any good. But the Zombie deck does have Ghoul Color Gissa out. And Ghoul Color Gissa could spell trouble in later turns. And we could mitigate that a little bit by go ahead and dealing that damage. Dealing damage to her directly now. So that's what we're going to go ahead and do. We're going to deal 4 damage to Ghoul Color Gissa and kill her. I took a big drink and now I'm like, ugh. Okay. So now we have some attacks that we can do. So let's go ahead and separate our attacks. We have 2 sets of 4 damage 4 damage from Opportunistic Dragon, and then 4 damage from Voracious Dragon. We're going to go and separate that between the two different decks. So the zombie deck is going to take 4 damage, be down to 22, and the demon deck is going to take 4 damage and be down to 25. So you don't have to do it this way. You could focus on one player and try to kill them, and arguably that is the smarter move. Try to focus on one player and knock them out of the game. But the way that I see it is that there's always some amount of leniency when you apply damage evenly. So we don't necessarily want to screw any one player out of the game on purpose. We don't want to have the appearance of that. So to kind of keep everything level and keep everything even, I tend to separate my attacks. And like I said, that's not necessarily the best way to play. A lot of, like, if you're really trying to win, if you're really, really trying to win, then attacking one player at a time and knocking them out is the smarter move, almost certainly. But I don't necessarily need to win to have fun with the game. And I think that that's kind of a thing that gets lost a little bit with Commander players, is that you kind of lose sight of what's important, and really everybody having fun and enjoying themselves and coming back for the next game is the path to take, is the path that you need to go. And if you attack only one player and make sure that they lose the game first, then it makes them a little bit less likely next time to return and be like, yeah, I want to lose the game first again. I want to not be able to play the game and just sit and watch everybody else play. So to try to avoid bad feelings, I tend to kind of apply things evenly, unless one player is like going to win the game very shortly. If I don't do something about it, then that is an extenuating circumstance that changes the dynamic of this decision. So for now, since nobody is really ahead, and I certainly could be ahead, and I don't want to be so far ahead that I become the only target until I'm sure that I can win, at this point at least, I'm going to go ahead and just attack evenly and wait to see how things play out. So, I'm thinking we're getting a little dark now, so give me a second and let me reset the light in the room, and see if I can get a little bit more light. That looks a lot better, I think. We got a little bit of glare right here, but I think that's just the graveyard, and I'll talk about it if it comes up. So for now, I think this is looking pretty good. Okay, zombie turn. Untap. Upkeep. Draw a card. It is Baron Moore. Not great. It does allow us to draw a card. That's actually this. So this land is a special land that it comes into play tapped, and it can tap for a black mana. But if we need to, which is what we're going to do, we're going to pay a black, discard. It has an ability called cycling. So cycling for 1 black. We pay the black, we discard it, and we draw a card. Another land. No, that's not what we wanted. Please. Okay, so let's go ahead and do Gaia Reach Sanitarium again. So we pay 2 color, or we pay 2, tap it. Each player draws a card and then discards a card. Ooh. That's what we like to see. Okay, so yeah, I think that we discard this land. I think, no, let me think. Let me think what we have. Because we only have a couple of zombies, so Zombie Apocalypse isn't really doing us all that much good, but I don't know. It's kind of a toss-up here, because we do kind of want the land, but I think because we can play these 2 cards next turn, we're going to go ahead and get rid of the land here. So what I drew this turn is going to be really strong, and it's the only one of these decks that any of the beginner decks. This is the only deck that has Door of Destinies. Door of Destinies is an artifact for 4 colorless. It has, when it enters a battlefield, choose a creature type. We're going to choose zombie when we play it next turn. And then whenever you play a spell of that type, put a charge counter on Door of Destinies. Creatures you control of that type get +1/+1 for each charge counter on Door of Destinies. So we are just going to, next turn, we're going to pay 4 mana, play Door of Destinies, pay 1 more mana to cast Eternal Taskmaster, which will put a counter on Door of Destinies. And then the following turn, we will attack with Eternal Taskmaster so that we could return a creature card from our graveyard to our hand. So that's what we're going to do. That's our plan moving forward. That's what we're going to try to do to kind of dig ourselves out of the game. It's kind of slow, but with any luck, we still have maybe just enough life to get by. So unfortunately, we can't attack. We can attack, but we're only dealing 4 damage with each of these, 1 damage per each of these zombies. We really want these zombies to survive so that Door of Destinies can really pump them up. So I think we're just going to hold off. So let's go and resolve the rest of Gaia Reach Sanitarium as we go back around to the demon turn. So, and that will be the end of the zombies turn. So the dragons drew a mountain. So we have 2 mountains in hand. We're going to go ahead and discard the mountain that we just drew. Then we are going to go over to the demons, and the demons draw into a swamp. Interesting. At this point, I think that we kind of do want the swamp just in case. So we're going to get rid of the brood of cockroaches. So now let's go and take the demon's turn. So let's untap, upkeep, draw a card. It is Liliana's Contract. So Liliana's Contract is a 5-cost enchantment. When it enters the battlefield, you draw 4 cards and you lose 4 life. And then at the beginning of your upkeep, if you control 4 more demons with different names, you win the game. Wow. I think we're actually really close on that. So let's play the swamp. We're going to try to get out Villas this turn. We really need to get out Villas again if we can. We're kind of hoping, let's see, how many cards does the dragon deck have? Only 4 cards in hand. We know one of them is Archwing Dragon. We're kind of hoping they don't have another dragon, or that it costs so much that they can't play it, so that they can't kill our Villas again. So we're going to pay a black, and then from exile, we are going to cast Cabal Ritual because it costs 2 less to cast. So now it gives us 3 black mana. So then 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We have 10 mana. We can recast Villas from our command zone. Yeah. Yeah, boy. That's what we like to see. So now what we can do, if we want, let's leave this mana up. It's always possible that that the dragon deck will be able to kill Villas again, but thankfully, because we have 1 mana available, we can still be able to activate Villas Broker of Blood's ability 1 time and draw 2 cards. So that's what we're going to do. Basically, regardless, is we're going to draw 2 cards using Villas, just so we can try to start getting ahead of this, because we really need to get ahead of whatever everybody else has, especially this dragon deck. So we're passing the turn to the dragons. They are going to untap, upkeep, draw a card. Demanding Dragon. When Demanding Dragon enters the battlefield, it deals 5 damage to target opponent unless that player sacrifices a creature. Nice, because I think that means that we actually can kill Villas again. So let's see how much mana do we have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So this right. Oh wait, maybe we have a little bit more. I may have misspoken. So this is enough to cast Archwing Dragon. Then this is 6 mana. That's enough to cast Balefire Dragon again. I think that's what we do. We go ahead and we pay 3. We cast Archwing Dragon. Archwing Dragon comes into play. Well, first we cast it, so we deal 4 damage using Sarkhan's Unsealing because Archwing Dragon's power is 4, which that's what we're looking for on Sarkhan's Unsealing. So we deal 4 damage to Villas, Broker of Blood, and once Archwing Dragon enters the battlefield, we do get a 5/5 dragon. Now let's go ahead and pay 6 mana and cast Balefire Dragon. And when we cast Balefire Dragon, since its power is 6, we deal another 4 damage to any target. We're going to choose Villas, Broker of Blood. So because of that, we're going to go ahead and pay a black 2 life and give... It doesn't really matter too much, so let's go ahead and give, let's go ahead and give Opportunistic Dragon. Let's give Archwing Dragon -1/-1 until end of turn, and because we lost 2 life, we draw 2 cards. It is 2 swamps, which sure that will help later on, but for now let's just see what else happens. So now Villas, Broker of Blood, is going to die and go into our graveyard once again, unfortunately. I mean, into our command zone once again. So after we get done resolving that, because Balefire Dragon entered the battlefield, then Lathliss Dragon Queen creates another 5/5 dragon. So we are soaring high right now. And we got a lot of things to attack with this turn. So at this point, like I said, we separated attacks before, but now let's see how much damage we can deal. So Archwing Dragon is -1/-1. And unfortunately, we're tapped. The demon deck is tapped out, and the zombie deck doesn't have anything to try to finish off the Archwing Dragon. So the Archwing Dragon is going to sit at 3/3. So we have 3, 7, 11, and then 17 damage. So that's almost enough to finish somebody off. And I think that we go ahead and try to at this point. So we're still kind of afraid of what we're looking at here, and we could be playing Kingmaker. We don't really know. So let's evaluate what we're looking at with the 2 different battlefields. We have the zombies that have been struggling to try to get more things out. It just drew 2 cards last turn, but they're still sitting on the low amount of mana and a relatively low number of cards in hand that could be anything. Could be anything because it seemed like they were setting up something, but they never did get around to playing it. So we're not really sure what they have. But they've been hit down so many times with their graveyard getting exiled and losing their battlefield. And especially now that we have Balefire Dragon out. Next turn, we could be just board wiping them, essentially. So I think that they're pretty low on the totem pole right now. In contrast, when we look over at the demons, they just drew 2 more cards. So they're at an equal number of cards in their hand, but they do still have 2 cards in exile that could be really strong cards that they're trying to save. Plus, they have a ton of mana to be able to cast. They just cast a 10-cost card and still had a mana left over. So they could play so many things with that much mana, as opposed to the zombies that only have 6 mana. So we're going to go ahead and all-out attack with what we can attack with. So the Balefire Dragon and the 2 other dragons have to stay back. But everything else we're going to attack with. And like I said, so it's 3, 7, 11, 17 damage to the demon deck. We're going to try to knock them out next turn, and then we'll board wipe with Balefire Dragon for sure on the zombie deck. So 17 damage leaves us, let's see, 17 6 life left. 6 life. That's how much the demons have left. They're about out of the game. They're very, very close. It's only going to be a couple more attacks and they're dead. And they may end up killing themselves even as well because their deck is so focused on losing life to be able to do stuff. So we may have also shut down a lot of their cards just because it'll cost them life to be able to cast them. So with that being said, let's move on to the zombie deck. The zombies are going to untap, draw a card. It is Undead Augur. Not great. Okay. So that does change a little bit. We're going to pay 4 to... We kind of have to do whatever we can. Well, let's see. Yeah, I think at this point, unfortunately, Fraying Omnipotence, each player loses half their life. That part of it is going to kill us because it essentially means that even though the dragons will lose half of their dragons, they'll probably still have enough to kill both of us next turn. So we can't cast that. That card is basically out at this point. Zombie Apocalypse is still not doing good, so our only game plan is to move forward with Door of Destinies like we were planning last turn. So Door of Destinies, when it comes into play, choose a creature type. We're going to choose zombies. Then we're going to see what we can get. It could be dangerous to do, so we're going to go ahead but we're going to do it anyway because Undead Augur is a 2-cost 2/2 zombie. Whenever it or another zombie you control dies, draw a card and you lose 1 life. So what I'm hoping here is that if I lose, well, actually, yeah, no, I think that's too dangerous. So we're going to go ahead and do Eternal Taskmaster for 1 mana. That gets us a charge counter on Door of Destinies and gets our zombies +1/+1. And that's all we can do this turn. And let's just cross our fingers that the dragons don't have enough damage on the field to kill both me and the demon deck. Oh, and I forgot to say, Archwing Dragon returns to our hand at the end of the turn for the dragons. So Archwing Dragon continues to save itself. We keep not being able to kill it. So let us rotate over to the demon deck. The demon deck is going to untap all of its land. And let's see what we can do. There may still be some possibilities. There may still be a Wrath effect that we can try to save ourselves with. So untap, upkeep, draw a card. Swamp. Nope, that's not it. That's for sure not it. So we're going to play a swamp. See what cards we have flipped over. Elvis Binding Blade, which is a really cool card, but it's not doing us any good. And Pestilence Demon. I think our best bet is to go ahead and cast the Pestilence Demon. So that's normally costs 8. So 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. But because of the Foretell cost, it costs 2 less. So it's actually just 6. We will go ahead and cast Pestilence Demon. And unfortunately, that's really all that we can do this turn because it's basically just going to be a 7/6 blocker to try to force the dragons to have to block with more stuff. And maybe, hopefully, that will mean that the zombie deck can take revenge and maybe, struggle it out of the hands, out of the grasp of the dragons at the last moment. Because we are at the final turns now. So let's untap, upkeep, draw a card. It is Dragon's Horde. We don't really need it because we are just going to be casting dragons now. So we have, talk about it again, we have that 3 mana that we need to be able to cast Archwing Dragon. So when we cast a creature spell with power 4, 5, or 6, Sarkhan's Unsealing deals 4 damage. Since we have 2 dragons, we're going to go ahead and have Pestilence Demon take 4 damage. It's 6 toughness, so it stays there for now. But then we are going to pay 4 more mana to cast... Oh, sorry. And because we cast a dragon spell, or because a dragon came into play, a non-token dragon, we get a free dragon from Lathless. So I know she's down there in the bottom here, but she's there. So 4 more mana, we're going to cast Demanding Dragon, and the same thing. When we cast a spell, a creature spell with power 4, 5, or 6, Sarkhan's Unsealing deals 4 damage to any target. So we are going to go ahead and kill the Pestilence Demon. That frees up all of the possible flying blockers that's out there. And then once a non-token dragon enters the battlefield, Lathless creates another 5/5 dragon. See how crazy this gets with the dragons and why I just love them. I love dragons. So, with that being said, now we have to decide, we have to figure out how much damage, what's the minimum amount or like the minimum number of creatures that we need to use to defeat the demon deck. And honestly, actually, we could have done this a little bit differently. It's too late now. So I was too zealous in getting rid of the Pestilence Demon. By playing 2 dragons, I could actually use Sarkhan's Unsealing to just deal 8 damage to the demon deck, and then we would win the game. But because of that, we're just going to play it a little and give the zombies an extra chance to do something. So let's be sure to attack the demon deck with... we're going to combat. These 2 dragons are going to attack the demons, which is 8 damage, which should be enough to kill them. And then we're going to attack the zombie deck with whatever else we have. So the 8 damage will defeat, finally, the demon deck. And then the dragon deck is going to deal 10, 21, 31 damage to the zombies. And that's it. That's the game. Nothing else can be done. The dragons have won, which I guess makes sense for Dark Souls, right? This was I mentioned about Dark Souls, so now it's the fire has been reborn. Oh wow, that was nice. That actually now okay. So kind of evaluating how everything turned out. The zombies did pretty good job hanging in there. They got some really good turns there. And the dragons actually they won, but it was steady card advantage that ultimately won. Being able to get a free dragon each turn really does do a lot. It does a lot of good being able to block big creatures with big dragons. And it helped that we got some extra draw stuff from the Gaia Reach Sanitarium that the zombies had. The zombies were actually what helped the dragon deck win the game ultimately, which is sort of the upside and downside of Gaia Reach Sanitarium. Zombies really like things in their graveyard. It could have gone really, really well to be able to use Gaia Reach Sanitarium and then set up with the zombie apocalypse. It just unfortunately didn't work out this time. Now the demon deck underperformed a little bit more than I really would have liked. But it's kind of tricky because there aren't too many demons. We've put about as many demons as we possibly can in the deck without flooding them with really high cost creatures. So we may need to evaluate a little bit more how the demon deck gets mana so that it can get some of its higher cost stuff out a little bit sooner. But the offset of that, of course, is that it tries to use wrath effects to cancel out what everybody else does so that it can have space to be able to play its big cards. So we could do that. We could think about putting more wrath effects in, but the thing is that the problem with wrath effects is that if you play too many of them, it creates a stale game where basically everybody is afraid to play anything because they know it'll just get destroyed before their next turn. And that becomes very unfun very quickly. So I think that we take another look at the demon deck just to be sure of what it has, but I think that it's still in a good place. It just happened to underperform a little bit in this particular game. So that may be something to look at in another week, as we consider doing dedicating one of these streams to a deck building session, and I have a couple of decks that need to be modified, that could be modified, one that needs to be built essentially from scratch. So we may be doing a stream that's mostly just deck building, and I may look and see if the demon deck needs some adjustments, and we can make those adjustments on stream. Until then, thank you all for watching, and we're going to go ahead and close down now, and hope you all have a great week. I will see about streaming Wednesday or Thursday. I'm not sure at this moment, but we will see. So thank you all, and see you next time.